Welcome one, welcome all to episode 215 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, February 10th, 2024. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logan. In today's episode, we are discussing the potential futures of Xbox as speculations have now run rampant that Microsoft is planning to not only exit the physical game space, but also they'll be navigating exclusivity in a very different way than they have prior. As always, of course, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's been a good week. I've actually had a really good time. I went out on a nice dinner date with my wife last night. We went to our favorite hamburger place and we had a good conversation with some random people. And I got got a new graphics card for my PC. So my PC build is now complete. I got a 4080 Super. It was a very nice PNY overclock system. I've thrown just about everything I have at it, and it handles it like a true champ. Starfield is amazing at 60 frames per second on full graphics.
I wouldn't know what that's like. I don't know. I'm just a console plebe.
It's a very beautiful thing. But having to relearn how to use mouse and keyboard for a lot of these games that I'm used to playing controller for is tough. So I was thinking about going and getting my Starfield controller last night. But how are you doing?
I can't complain. It's been a tiring week, to say the least. Slightly under the weather here and there, but that happens. But socials were exhausting this week as various rumors and speculations kind of came out and outlets were talking. And I know we are going to talk about that as one of our main topics today. But it was such a breath of fresh air. And my words of kindness are twofold. They go to, of course, our Discord, who sense of reason, ration, in a space where everyone was getting upset. Everybody there was just being really kind and supportive. Got to watch Ellery stream this week, which was wonderful. Nice. Matt Kennedy, I want to shout out Matt Kennedy. We did Fantasy Critic against him with Nerd Chat, but gave us a clip of him, or rather a picture of merch that he picked up, XEP merch that he picked up, which was really neat. So there was a lot of good in a week where I think people were downing Xbox or just gaming. It just felt odd for sure. So,
oh yeah. People were having meltdowns about stuff, and it wasn't even about good stuff like Shredder and Fortnite. It was about stupid stuff.
Yeah,
because it's a shame too, because Shredder and Fortnite right now way better than Solid Snake. I'm just gonna put it out there.
100%.
TMNT content for Fortnite is fabulous. It's so fabulous, and I was so glad to see. When I went to the store and I couldn't find Shredder, I was like, where the heck is Shredder? How do I get Shredder? And I found out that the event that they got going on, it's like you just spend like 1,000 V-Bucks for it and you get Shredder instantly. But then there's like a Super Shredder version. And then there's a Krang back bling, which I hate the word for. They should just call it like, back
bling
pack.
Yeah.
No, because bling is a stupid word. No.
Bling is dope because I'm cool and I know bling coolness.
Wow, this hurts.
Yep. No. It's pretty rough, isn't it? It doesn't get better as you get older either.
But yeah, like the turtle stuff is just, I don't know, dude. We were talking a little bit about it, but I'm in love with some of the event stuff that they got going on for different games right now. Like I know you didn't jump into the COD stuff yet that I know of, but the horde point is way different than just a horde mode, and way more interesting than a hard point. And I was actually pretty, I enjoyed a bit of that after I got used to the setup.
But, I'm anxious to get into that today. I'll actually say, one of the things that I enjoyed about this week was lots of events started kind of happening in a lot of the different live service games that I play.
Yeah.
Fortnite dropped the incredible, like the Cowabunga Pass is legitimately great as a TMNT fan. Good. Yeah, it's close to home for me, but also it's good. Like it's just legitimately good. And I'm enjoying that. But then I'm also anxious to check out, the horde point in Call of Duty Season 2, which is Season 1 treated me very well. Really enjoyed Season 1. Call of Duty's good about doing mini events, as is Fortnite. They've had a lot of stuff related to the boys, which as I watch Gen V has been cool.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that. And then Diablo's doing like its lunar event, which pretty neat. Like I
That one's,
appreciate.
I don't know if I like the lunar event as much as I thought I was going to.
I do not like the lunar event next to
Other stuff.
other stuff that they've done. Nor do I like
Yeah.
season 3 of Diablo as much as I like season 2. But
Yeah.
the bigger point I think that I'm making is that these live service games consistently are battling with one another for uh, bringing player attention, and
Hmm.
sometimes these line up very poorly. Like even Halo, I'll address in a second. Difficult for me as a consumer, which is exactly what they want. But I love having these different events in game that are like, yeah, you've got your standard XP crawl and whatever pass, but then we've got these events. And I like that because they're typically collab based or they give you cool features, abilities. Um, it's also why some games can't enter this space any longer because player time is just occupied. Destiny started doing that. World of Warcraft started doing that years and a decade ago, easily at this point. And games just struggle to battle in, but I enjoy them. I just wish they didn't line up next to each other all the time. And
Well, it's about holidays, right? They're always trying to do something for the special. Like this one is the celebration of the Chinese New Year, which is the lunar festival for a lot of different things. You know, it's the year of the dragon.
mhm.
Make sure you guys are giving out your red envelopes, by the way. Be nice. But like things like Halo, the way that they do theirs, you know, their battle pass system is probably one of the nicest, but when you have to compete for time for these events, it's tough when they're offering really compelling cosmetics for a short period of time that it's you got to have to wait for an event to come back if you want something like that, right?
And thankfully, Halo is Infinite is forgiving, but it's also adjusting in its kind of new no season, but doing
Yeah,
content
that's
updates.
so
They've
weird.
adjusted their operations. But one of the things I do dig is that right now their weeklies are lining up with Halo Season 2, like the helmets of
The
Silver
show.
Team. Yeah, the
Oh yeah,
show.
yeah.
And I will tell you, I am 20 minutes into the first episode of Season 2, and then I had to stop because of time. But
Yeah.
that first 20 minutes, Logan, was
Mhm.
better than the entire goodness of Season 1. Like all the good moments of Season 1, the first 20 minutes of Season 2 outdo it. Like
That's cool.
I'm loving it. They very quickly in that first 20 minutes have even noted and talked about like address some of the problems. One of the problems is that it is in this universe of Halo, the Spartans couldn't think for themselves unless they removed
Yeah.
a pellet. Early on, they're like, "Did you remove your pellet? Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Cool. Now we have people. Like now we have personalities in there. They're not going to be run by AI, so no longer will some things be happening." So I'm interested to see where it goes, but the action was so good. Master Chief's helmet on made sense. His helmet off made sense. He wasn't taking it off mid battle to look at the sky. There was none of that. It was
Mhm.
really good. I really enjoyed it. So I'm
That's
anxious
good.
to go back. Yeah.
I hope they keep that throughout the rest of the series because my fear, and I don't think I'm wrong to have this trepidation with it, and I'm gonna wait till it's all out before I subscribe because I'm gonna just binge it all in like a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried that the writers and the directors and stuff looked at the reception of the first season, and were just like, man, everyone seemed to really hate this. Let's see if we can win them back with this first episode, and then we'll get back to our normal routine of sucking on Halo. And it's just like, I'm hoping that the cool factor for the first couple seasons that people have been saying are really good persists through the entire season, and this isn't just like a quick grab to draw people in for the second season, hoping to give them like what we want, but ultimately failing and going back to their season one routes or roots.
The writers from season 1 are gone. They were fired, exited. They've left. They were left a while like that. Like we knew that a while ago.
It's a dumb
Um,
story.
there was a very bad story in season 1. Like don't yeah, it was just bad. But season 2, I fully believe the first 20 minutes are a reaction to season 1, the reception
Yeah,
there. But for all intents and purposes, what I understand is that the first 2 episodes are very, very well received, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, looking very
that's
good.
good.
My wife watched parts of it with me and seemed to be very much enjoying it. I'm in. Like I'm in for season 2 if this continues. But you put a ton of Quan Ha or some of that first season mess in front of me, then gone.
See,
It was
that's
just
what I'm scared of,
garbage.
because I was looking at like the cast list on
Mm-hmm.
IMDb and like the
Mm-hmm.
episode lists and the names and stuff, and I was
It's like,
like,
I agree.
uh,
I agree.
all of these don't really star
We'll
Master Chief.
we'll see what happens. Like they
Uh,
get the benefit of the doubt based on the opening. Based
See, I
on
hate that. That feels like a bait and switch.
it might be, and
That's my
okay.
concern. That's the only. I'm not gonna say bad or good about it until I actually watch it, and I'm not gonna watch it till I can binge all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fearful for the consumer who has to deal with the bait switch on that, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that they should have to deal with.
No, they should not. But I have to think Halo, the brand of Halo, which is to some synonymous with Xbox, it may not be in the future going forward for all intents and purposes. The brand of Halo took a lot of hits in the last decade, had
Yeah.
some really high highs. The launch of Halo Infinite was wonderful. It was really like, we're back. I got a show on the way. This is good. COVID, I think, damaged production, but not writing, like damaged production of the quality of season one's visuals and such. But then the lack of content for Infinite, and it's been really hard to be a Halo fan, an Xbox fan, and a DC fan. Everything that I am in the entertainment space has been odd to watch. But I hope that Halo as a brand continues the recovery that I see it happening. Is it happening?
Yeah.
Happening?
I knew what you meant.
Thanks. I hope that brand recovery continues if season 2 delivers, if
Yeah.
indeed Halo Infinite and subsequent Halo releases over the next 2 years are solid. I'm excited for the brand.
That's good.
I could see it swinging awry as well.
Man, it's to kind of cap things off. I gotta say, like, a topic for another podcast, but I would love to think of seasons or shows that started off with a first season that just absolutely killed it from the get go
Mm-hmm.
and just stayed good throughout the whole series. Because there's really not. It always feels like maybe this is a problem with, like, CW shows or something, but it always feels like the first season is always rocky, and it isn't until the second season when the actors get into their characters better, the writers understand where they want to go with the story. They aren't worried about cancellation nearly as much because they've got a foundation to jump off of.
Mm-hmm.
It just it always feels like first season on a show is just like the worst, and then it gets better, and then it's like, well, the first should have really been the best because you had one story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've seen mixed and match on that, mixed results there.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
that's fair.
Well, look, let's go ahead and read our patron list and thank them for being so supportive of the show, and then we'll get into kind of the big topic that is massive, I think, in terms of what Xbox's future potentially could spell out. But let's thank all the people that went to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass, chose to support us, just chose to help me pay for different things to help keep the show going. Like Canva, I just paid that fee. Every dollar from here on out is going towards summer travel, like us hopefully getting to link up at an event of some kind, E3-esque, whatever Xbox Fan Fest can take place.
Nice.
Yeah, so
Fan Fest.
That's where I'm funneling all of that. And if we don't end up going, then it'll funnel into website fees and everything else that I'm going to pay out of pocket until then. So we'll see what happens. But patrons that have gone to patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass, we read out the tier 2 and 3. We want to thank them. I believe it's my week to read.
Yes.
Indeed it is. So we want to say thank you to Chris, 1H1D, Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Talzochi, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randolph Thor 19, Silkenet, Rick Gaffney, Hafrican aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord, Sir, Master, Allfather, Godfather, and father to my friend's kid, James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you all for listening to the Xbox Expansion Pass and choosing to support us over on Patreon. You guys keep the content coming, the lights on, and we appreciate you. So there we go.
I'm just really surprised that you're taking all that Patreon money and investing it into Girl Scout cookie stock, hoping that it pays out.
Sony stock, actually. Sony
stock.
Mm-hmm.
I misunderstood.
Yep.
Both are sweet, but ultimately empty inside
Well,
when consuming.
We are going to soon be the expansion pass, maybe not the Xbox expansion pass, at least if rumors are to be believed. Now, this is an interesting topic because rumors and speculation are a tiring thing in and of themselves, Logan. But when we had Stephen Totillo on 2 weeks ago, he was adamant and of the mind that Sea of Thieves would be arriving onto PlayStation. And we discussed the pros and cons of that. The idea that we have a satiated market for Sea of Thieves already. We've kind of capped out the max numbers. The only way to continue getting Sea of Thieves to more people. Hold on.
Yeah, I got some follow up on that.
Hold on, you nerd. The idea would be we wouldn't be able to get to other people. But in him saying it would come to Sea of Thieves and our great discussion, I'll point you guys to that. The days that followed led to more outlets suggesting that it wasn't just Sea of Thieves that would be arriving from the Xbox catalog into other platforms, Switch, PlayStation, what have you. Websites like the Xbox Era, an enthusiast website that has reported correctly on a number of leaks from Special Nick, came out and said, nope, we've heard it's more Starfield, this, that, the other. The Verge, Paul Tassi, a number of other credible sources. We're hearing this. And then Nate the Hate, who had correctly leaked something some weeks prior, came back and said, nope, I was wrong about Starfield. I regret my decision to say that, XYZ. And so what we've had now is a fallout narrative of, is this true? Is it not? Leading Phil Spencer and Xbox to state that they've got a business update on their strategy coming up in this following week. Perhaps if you're listening to this now, you already know. But I think it's interesting, Logan, to watch the discourse, the sky is falling attitude, and a bunch of people wrote in about it, of just what happens to digital libraries, what happens to the Xbox brand if games do go multi-platform. We ourselves participated in that kind of discussion with Stephen Totillo, and then it seemingly in the weeks that followed, this, that, and the other made this narrative something else, potentially, I think, damaging the Xbox brand overall. I think it was interesting.
Yeah, I do too. Also, I have to call out a few things. I love that you ran over the word library and you said digital library. And
Did I?
I really want libraries to be a thing where I keep all my games.
Not a single person knows what you're talking about. What? What do you
instead of library? You said library.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's just for the mental image of library. It just cracks me up for some reason. I don't know why I like that word, but I like that word now. Okay. The Sea of Thieves thing, we just got a season 11 news video. They are updating the code base to support DirectX 12 for graphics cards, which is going to be a lot better for optimization for running the PC client. They're also updating the game to use the latest game developer kit, which is going to bring in a lot of optimizations. But there's a lot of people who are more familiar with that who said that might be a good clue into them being able to have Sea of Thieves ported over to PlayStation now. And that wasn't something that was necessarily like available to them, but they are doing the framework background stuff that will allow them to, one, integrate a good anti-cheat for PC, but also support newer graphics cards better, and also to be able to have better tools so that they can work on ways to change the game through the engineering side of it. And that could potentially lead to confirmation that a PlayStation version may be something that they start working on soon.
Interesting. It's neat to hear concrete things happening. The speculation, of course, will it actually go to PlayStation, or is this just future proofing for other things? I think that's been the consistent debate. People are seeing a lot of smoke in certain areas, and in some cases it might lead to something, might not. But I've watched a lot of people react, including ourselves, people
Oh
kind of
yeah.
in our spaces, trying to figure out what is going on with Xbox's future. They just acquired, I should say, uh, Activision Blizzard King, $70 billion acquisition, a 2-year
Yeah.
ordeal. We've now completed this. We've strengthened the brand. We're seeing, you know, different lists come out about like games sold, and now there are 5 technically Xbox games in the top 20, from Starfield and Minecraft to Call of Duty and Diablo, and it's just fascinating to watch. But the messaging has been very difficult. Something that it was the Nerd Propellant that wrote in over on Twitter. What would they write, what would your ideal messaging approach be for Xbox? To me, I often feel Xbox messaging isn't the issue many make it out to be, so much so that the audience isn't in the mindset to understand them. Luke may recognize this as how important it can be as a fellow educator. Um, I I agree and disagree with kind of the mentality that Nerd Propellant's writing in with. I think Xbox does have a messaging problem, and it stems back further than this most recent issue of Sea of Thieves or Starfield or any other
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush going to another platform. When Blade was announced by Bethesda at the Game Awards to be coming and created by Arcane Studios, they couldn't even
Yeah.
say Xbox exclusive, which is suggestive of something, but it's a needless shot in the foot if there's not a reason for it. If there is no
Yeah.
reason for it, why not just say? So I think Xbox does have a messaging problem. They have had the best service available to gamers for this entire generation. They have had Game Pass deliver nonstop hits into their service, and yet their numbers have plateaued. They've strengthened their bonds with JRPG makers, with different places around the world, and yet the box isn't selling. So somewhere along the way, despite Bethesda, despite PC, Play Anywhere, despite Game Pass, something isn't connecting with the greater communities, and that might be causing strife or difficulty in the Xbox, or rather, I should say, the Microsoft C-suite. Little things like GameStop, on their own volition, with no input from Xbox tweet that we know of, changing the verbiage from Xbox Game Pass to Microsoft Game Pass to promote one of their event days,
Yeah.
caused a massive uproar. Not necessarily the fault of Xbox that GameStop screwed up, but the lack of clear messaging does cause that to be a discourse. And that,
Not
I
not
think, is
even
frustrating.
not even just that, but someone was like someone was literally scrubbing through employees of Microsoft Xbox, their LinkedIn accounts, for history on like what their roles are, and they're like looking at people and saying like, oh, this person works at Xbox and they support content that's across Switch and PlayStation. And then, like days later, that person removes those consoles from their LinkedIn because it got so much heat, because people are like, oh my god, this is confirmation that they're bringing stuff. And it's like, no, Ori, Minecraft,
Minecraft,
Deathloop, we already have
Fallout. Mhm.
Xbox content on PlayStations. If they're supporting that content, that could be past content. It's not like there hasn't been a precedent already set for games coming to other consoles. So the discourse online, on social medias in particular, has been very disappointing and very infuriating as a fan of Xbox, to think that this is the representation of the community, when I have to, every once in a while, I have to step back and like check myself and be like, no, this isn't the majority of people. I don't think any of my Sea of Thieves friends even know what's going on with this, and they're a large portion of one of the communities that would be directly impacted by something like Sea of Thieves coming to other consoles. And as a result of that, it's like these are just a few people who have large followings and have made Xbox their identity, and they have connections, and they hear rumors, and they hear things that are potentially going to happen. But because there's no online confirmation from Xbox, that is where I think I agree with you that Xbox consistently has a trouble addressing issues before they become issues.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this with Redfall when there was a confirmation later that the console version was going to be 30 frames per second when all the footage we had seen was 60 frames. We saw this again when Phil Spencer came on to
Kind of funny.
kind of funny's Xcast and said that we would know for sure soon or by the E3 like if Starfield was going to be 30 frames or 60 frames.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until later that we found out that it was going to be 30 frames. And then we
Mm-hmm.
found out the reason why was because of all the junk that they have in there persisting. And it's like, well, I don't care if that stuff persists. Give me 60
Mm-hmm.
frames. Which,
Right.
by the way, 4080 Super on a PC with Starfield with 60 frames per second is beautiful. It is miraculous. And I love seeing all the frames on my PC right now. It's beautiful. But to see all this discourse, man, I'm glad we're recording now because I've had the whole week to kind of get my feelings in check and really kind of like formulate my opinions on this whole thing. And the conversation around like, are people reacting too much to this? Yeah, I think people are definitely reacting too much to rumors and speculation, and I hate giving life to those. But I do think that the fear that they have is justified.
Mm-hmm.
If I can jump into the Sony topic real quick, we recently found out that Funimation, which is an anime streaming service that's been around for a long time, and Crunchyroll are getting merged. Funimation is funneling into Crunchyroll, and people who are fans of Funimation are having their accounts merged into Crunchyroll. Their cost is going up. Any purchases that they made through Funimation are not being honored by Crunchyroll. And that's a really crappy thing to do to a digital library for two anime streaming services. And the thing that really kind of speaks to the weirdness of this is that both of these companies were purchased by Sony. Mm-hmm. Sony owns both of these companies. What is the reason for them not to honor a digital library when they're the ones merging the service and hiking the price? And it's like, I think that is a more valid concern when we talk about things like Lena Khan having a real heyday trying to go after Xbox and ABK for monopolization and stuff of the market. But when you see something like this, and then you take this as like an actual factual thing that is happening right now, and then you apply that to the concerns of what the Xbox fans are having right now with games being de-emphasized on the console and being emphasized more on Game Pass and other consoles, and the exclusivity being lost there, and the emphasis on needing Xbox to make hardware and getting cool features like quick resume, cloud saves, being able to have FPS boost and backwards compat so prevalent in their hardware, losing some of that because they're de-emphasizing consoles potentially with bringing their exclusives to other hardware where you wouldn't necessarily need to buy an Xbox. That is concerning to me, man. Like, what is going to happen if that's a future that comes around that I have to think about? Okay, well, how much time do I want to actually spend or how much money do I want to spend in an ecosystem that I'm unsure of?
And is that the fear that you are thinking is happening to a lot of Xbox fans right now?
I think not a lot by any means. I think a small portion of the Xbox community that's tapped into podcasts and YouTube things, like because we're talking about it, we're making the problem bigger because of the rumors that have been going around. And we'll find out, this week, obviously, what the thing is. I genuinely think that the stratagem that Xbox is going to have is that they will pick and choose what games move to other consoles.
Mm-hmm.
But if exclusivity leaves Xbox, I do think that is a concern as a consumer because it does not show faith that the hardware is worth buying for the content. And as many people say, content is king. I own a Switch for one reason. Zelda. I don't care about all of the other Marios nearly as much. If I get another Odyssey, I'll be very happy, but I guarantee you the one franchise that I will subscribe to for the rest of my life is The Legend of Zelda. And there is only one place you can play The Legend of Zelda, and that is on Nintendo hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And they subsidize the hardware, or they make hardware so that it is profitable, so that they can continue to reinvest and not rely on the games that they put out in case one of them's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like, if you're buying a PlayStation, you're probably buying a PlayStation because of the exclusives that they have. God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, The Last of Us, anything that, Naughty Dog puts out, anything that Santa Monica Studios puts out. Those are the reasons you're probably going to that console, because you have a library. And I think that the digital library is a huge factor in where you go. A lot of people don't want to lose the content that they've purchased now that a lot of digital goods have been done. And as a result of that, if Xbox pulls away from that aspect of the market, that's a benefit to everyone but Xbox, because everyone's going to benefit from buying hardware that has exclusives and exclusives from another company. And then at that point, they just turn into another, they turn into a Sega at that point. They lose their hardware because they don't sell the hardware, and they don't make money off of the hardware, but they make enough money off of the software and publishing that it keeps them afloat. And that may be a good thing for Xbox, because look at Capcom. They're doing fantastic right now. They're consistently releasing remakes of their games that are ranking very high. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you still get the benefit of something like a Game Pass. So all of their content will come day one to Game Pass. But that is not a consumer friendly approach for people who've been following this ecosystem for the last 20 years. And I think that's the frustrating thing to me. That's the thing that I'm hung up on the most, that there's no consumer friendly approach to this for Xbox fans, just everyone else, or the people who buy all of them.
I agree and disagree on a couple fronts. I think, and this discussion will take place again at the start of Gen 10, probably. Right?
Yes.
At the start of Gen 10, why do you need a box? Already we see Xbox available on the ROG Ally. We see Xbox available on PCs. In places where there is not an Xbox. I think this is just coming in too soon, or sooner than people were ready for, which is ironic given that the Xbox One's arrival into the ecosystem had all the things it needed to have. It had all the things we currently use, but it was too soon. Just as the Dreamcast did for Sega, it was too soon. Consumer, like the Zune and a few other Microsoft products have often arrived. Tablets, they had tablets first, too soon before people were ready for it. Xbox may indeed be so ahead of the curve here, future-proofing themselves, they're actually doing some damage. I will note that if hardware does get devalued, de-emphasized, and decoupled from the Xbox brand going forward, I do wonder what happens to features like Quick Resume, the smart delivery, back compat. They spent years and years building a back compat library that we are very excited to see the arrival of Activision Blizzard titles too.
A huge physical back compatibility that would be lost if we don't have boxes.
I'll address that too. Physical, you need to get over it. You people, you physical mites. It's let me talk, Logan.
Sorry.
Thanks, buddy. The physical is already dead, has been dead for quite some time. The idea that you own your games because you have the disc is so foolish, because the moment they turn off servers or you choose not to update, suddenly your experience is diminished, if anything. Not even accessible. So I don't see a world where we need to be pretending like the physical library is the box now, because it's not been for some time. The majority of games purchased are done online. Xbox and PlayStation both sell a digital-only console, and for all intents and purposes, the physical Series X is not even is going away also. I think it's just a little bit too soon for people. The part that I want to acknowledge is awkward is that those who have invested into the ecosystem need to feel there is a reason to stay within that ecosystem. And Xbox has
Yeah.
failed to deliver on that to the masses. Otherwise, the conversation would be very different.
Yeah.
I'm not offended when someone's playing Xbox games on their ROG Ally or their PC or logging into Minecraft on their Switch or on their PlayStation or playing Ori. That doesn't hurt me. What would hurt me as a consumer would be if suddenly all of Xbox's best games were available over on that PlayStation or that Switch, and I couldn't play competitor stuff. Why even own the Xbox per se? And I'm okay not
Yeah.
owning an Xbox later down the line, but to spend all this money and time to prepare your brand and then not reward the fans that have stuck with you would feel strange.
Yeah, I think that's part of the issue that I have with this is that if the next generation comes around and Xbox is saying that they are going to bring their first party content or like Game Pass to PlayStation or Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably just going to buy a PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have like my two Xbox Series X's. I'll have them like on the shelf in case I want to jump into something that I've purchased that may not be transitioned into whatever the future of their ecosystem may be. That is and that's where I think Microsoft consistently talks out of both sides of their mouth. They want to reward Xbox fans and say that the console's important. It's the most powerful console, that your content will be there. You have backwards compatibility, your digital libraries there. And then at the same time, they talk about wanting to have their content everywhere. They want to be on any screen that they possibly can. And it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, guys. You either support the people that are funding your hardware and you give them the dedication that they deserve, or you just say, forget it, and we're going to put our stuff everywhere and allow people to enjoy the content at the same time. Because when you do this, you're not showing me what your values are outside of we want money. And that's fine if that's the approach you want to take, because then I will be very, very careful about where I spend my money. And I guarantee you, a lot of people that find out that Microsoft may move in a direction where they are taking their content across multiple consoles are going to take that $500 next gen and hold on to it just a little bit longer and see what's going on with PlayStation, because it's all fine and good if you want to put your exclusives everywhere. That's fine if everyone's playing by the same rules. Sony is not going to play by these rules. They're going to keep their stuff exclusive. We saw that with Call of Duty and content that they would bring exclusively to PlayStation. They're a third-party company. They just made the contract deals. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 16, Square Enix and Sony have a very strong bond. If that's the case, then I'm going to go Sony, because all of the content that I might want to play on Sony is going to be on Sony, and any of the content that's on Xbox, if that comes to Sony, then why would I waste the $500?
Right. It does fly in the face of the way that they've tried to incentivize people to come to their ecosystem. Like, you'll have Hellblade, you'll have Fable, you'll have this, you'll have that.
Yeah.
Well, I can have it everywhere else. And Spider-Man is a very strange messaging. So I'm anxious to see what actual information does come out. Something that I thought was interesting was being reported by credible journalists was that Xbox themselves, their C-suite, was surprised by the discourse, surprised by the way this narrative seemed to get away. I got a kick out of these. I don't know if I call them. I suppose they are influencers by definition. These people that are speaking as though Phil is their close personal friend. You know, I talked to Phil yesterday about what he was doing and how it was messing up, and I tried to guide him. It's like, first off, Holmes, like, what are you doing? He's not basing his decision for $1 billion company based on your DMs. Calm it down. And two, many of these decisions have likely been in limbo and discussion for quite some time.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to watch what they want to message going forward. how they want to leverage Activision Blizzard content going forward. Navigating space of live service games makes perfect sense in some cases to be in multiple places. Other stuff, I really was looking forward to them strengthening their exclusive slate with things like Spyro or Crash Bandicoot or maybe the next Bethesda title akin to
Yeah.
Hi-Fi Rush. I was really looking forward to that because
Yeah.
Xbox was starting to mean something special again. I will grant you that Series S and X have not sold very well compared to, I think, the quality that they offer. Whereas the Xbox One was a piece of trash for the first few years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the One S, One X. But that thing was bad. The Series X has been good. The Series S has been good. The offerings have been wonderful.
Isn't it crazy that for years we were sitting there having to fight the online discourse about how Xbox has no games, and now it's like Xbox has too many games, and it's like now we have to put our games elsewhere because there's just too many, and it's like to have an Xbox community who's had to struggle with the discourse being that Xbox is in third place, Xbox is always behind, they're always bad at messaging. They're having to fight this idea of like, well, you don't have any games, so why would I buy your console? And they're like, all right, fine, we're buying studios and we're going to have games. And now that we're finally getting games, we're finally having all these studios. They're like, okay, well, now we're going to de-emphasize the fact that all of this stuff is the reason why you should buy the console. It's like, what happened?
I think it reminds me of changes in politics, changes in fields where I work, like education. People want the silver bullet answer, and some things just take time. You know, some things just take time. But I will note, this is my last point, and then I'd like us to move on.
Yes.
The solution to all of this is and would have been make better games.
Yes.
If the games had hit and been better and delivered on their promises when they were there, then this would have been a non-issue. And obviously we are staunch supporters, Gears, Halo, Forza, but like, let's not pretend that in the year of 2023, when Xbox was firing out games to niche appeal, Redfall being the only black eye, which, by the way, Redfall in a good place. Keep your eye on XCP in the future. It's to niche appeal. Forza Motorsport didn't do it. Starfield didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no way around the discussion that you've yet to produce, you as a company being Xbox, have yet to produce a God of War equivalent, a Spider-Man equivalent. That's not to say I don't love Starfield, Gears, Halo, Forza, all of it. I love them, obviously, but none
good games, not amazing.
Correct. And I think that would have been not a silver bullet, but certainly done more for Xbox than any amount of back compat or quick resume or elite controller could have done.
And we see that with like Blade. Like Blade was announced to be a third person action adventure over the shoulder narrative game, and everyone in Xbox was like, is this the one? Is this the one that finally gets to answer the question about can Xbox make a game that is on par with the content that Sony puts out on their first party? Because as much as Phil may, and that's is another one of those things where it's like Phil's talking out of both sides of his mouth about this. He says that exclusives don't sell consoles, and I'm like, that's fine if it's not exclusive, but you still have to make a really good game for people to buy your console, and it only takes one really good IP. You get one really good IP, and it will sell consoles. Spider-Man sold PlayStation 4 for me, man. I didn't care about all the other games. I never played through the God of War game or any of the what's the Nathan Drake ones?
Uncharted.
I never played any of those. I didn't care about them. I heard that they were good, but it didn't matter to me. I was involved with other games that were really, really good. Everyone talked about how flipping good Spider-Man was, and I was like, it looks cool. It looks really fun. I'm in for that. And I got the PlayStation 4 because of one really good game. And that was all it took. The system seller, right? Xbox needs to do that. Starfield was not it. I think Starfield is great, but it's not it. And I'm still waiting for that it.
It'll be interesting to see if Palworld becomes it, or if that is sent other places.
No. I guarantee you Palworld is a phenomenon, It's a fun game, but it is not it. It just did really, really well on the time. It hit at the right time for the right group of people. But it will not be the thing that sells Xboxes.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I certainly have no evidence to argue with you on that one. But I
Personal
would like.
feelings. I don't want to. I don't want to say. I don't want to belie the sales that they've made, or say that they aren't justified. That they've made a ton of money. I think that they've done a really good job with what they're doing, and they're working hard to continue to push that game. But I don't see Power World as an exclusive being the thing that sells Xboxes.
Yep. Well, Logan, let's transition away from that because a lot of it is based in fact and quite a bit more of it in speculation. So I'm anxious to see where it goes, the business update. I'm looking forward to rational minds prevailing. Game Pass did get an update this past week. Nobody noticed because of all the discourse.
I noticed.
Nah, nobody cared. Train Sim World 4 and Madden 24 are in there, timely, of course, with the Super Bowl. Looks like Resident Evil 3 is going to be arriving. A lot of people should play that. I think it's fun.
Dude, yeah. That's cool.
There were a few others that dropped in there.
Bloodstained. That is a really, really good game that was made from the creators who did Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of the best PlayStation games from the original system. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is a really good game.
I believe you.
All right.
I'm sorry.
You had a really good time with Prince of Persia. All right. You enjoyed Prince of Persia. I will say Bloodstained, not quite up to the level of quality because it is very much an independent game compared to a very good seasoned Ubisoft game studio. But if you liked Prince of Persia this year and you haven't played Bloodstained, please give it a chance on Game Pass.
It's dead. Game Pass is dead.
Oh my God.
Lightyear Frontier is, of course, coming to Game Pass Early Access. I'm interested to see how that goes. That might hit at the right time. We'll see. I do want to say we put out our first review last week, Logan, for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Obviously, that's close to home for me. But we did that as our first review separate from the show, right? Like split out from the show. I eliminated a show from our Patreon just because it was people weren't interested. And we did our first review. It was a fun project for us, and I think we might venture into that world sometimes going forward. But
I'm under embargo right now for one that I want to try and do.
Are you going to try and do that one?
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm excited to see what happens with that one. We've also got a controller on the way, the Stealth Ultra from Turtle Beach, which we're going to be able to talk about. It'll be interesting to talk about that. So we'll see how reviews go, but do check out XCP's YouTube if you're interested in our thoughts on Suicide Squad and in general, just giving our video reviews a look. We've already got some things we want to tweak here and there, but a place for us to investigate. On Suicide Squad, though, I've talked a lot about Suicide Squad because it's just been such this unique game for me because I come from such baggage of the Arkhamverse, but also I think my gripes and concerns with Suicide Squad were very relevant and worthwhile. And I think other reviews seem to echo similar concerns. But also, this game is meant to be a live service, and a lot of story stuff has come out as being badly told, I think, in its narrative. But the roadmap looks good. I'm in the end game. I've leveled all the characters up. I'm 48 plus hours in and enjoying myself still. And it's been that's the confusion of a game like Suicide Squad. Do you judge it based on its campaign or its end game? Because it takes a lot of time to get to the end game. Where's the loop?
Yes.
There's not much mission and variety in that loop currently, but new missions are on the way in season 1. They're currently in season 0. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. But I will tell you that I am thoroughly enjoying the end game far more than the current game. I like that we're part of the season gaming in-game clan, which is neat because we're reaping rewards there. I like the roadmap that I see. And if anybody can get past the frustrations that we mentioned in that video review, and you see the game on sale, please pick it up. I think you would enjoy yourself in the end game. This talks to the looter shooter group, not the narrative group. That's what this game is truly meant to be for, I think. But I'm enjoying the end game a lot.
Okay. Maybe you can answer this for me. I have defeated the final boss and
terrible
seen Brainiac.
Seen or killed?
Seen.
Okay.
I have not. I have not killed Brainiac at all. So I don't know if I'm at the end game yet, or if I still have to go back and do that.
I don't think it's a spoiler to say because they've built a live service. So I don't think I'm ruining anything for you. You will kill Brainiac and then have to keep killing Brainiac.
Yes.
Okay. Then you have arrived at the end game. I don't think
Okay.
that's a spoiler because he is meant to be this Elseworld big bag that exists in multiple places, and that's how they produce conflict for the player to enjoy. So you're there seemingly.
Okay. So I wanted to share my thoughts on this because I think that they differ enough from yours that I come from a different perspective going into this that I think might help give a little more balance to the general feeling of Suicide Squad. So I went through the game completely as Captain Boomerang. He's my favorite right now. I love his traversal. I think it clicks with what I want out of it. And the things that I want to agree with on you are the lack of mission variety. Through the campaign, I definitely noticed that we were doing the same things, but with a different skin, just kind of like, this is how we're going to deal with, like, okay, well, X character has to get from one point to point B. That is an escort quest. It's going to be in a vehicle. We have to go and destroy these things because what's his name needs me to do this. And each character, each tertiary character has their own style of mission. And they are part of the gearing system that is for late game that you need to do to be able to continue to progress through the campaign. Which I think is a very interesting approach as well. There's no way to golden path through the campaign, which was very, very, I was not expecting that. And I think you tried to warn me on that at one point, but it didn't bother me too much. The boss fights, I did not take umbrage with the way that you did. I actually enjoyed the boss fights with, I think, the Flash being the exception. And I know it's going to come as a surprise to you, but they're not bad. They're not designed in a way that I think really kind of if you're playing solo, you're not going to enjoy the boss fights nearly as much as if you were playing with someone else. Because I think that the things that the AI bots do during the boss fights tend to be more focused on the actual boss. Whereas I think a lot of the times people are going to be in an arena and they're going to have to deal with mechanics that will come at you that you need to address before you can wait for a dedicated like boss damage phase, which is a very common design element through like Destiny and World of Warcraft and stuff. There's points where you have to do damage outside of the boss mechanics and that you have to survive the mechanics to be able to get to that phase. So I kept waiting for that and I didn't really find those moments. I found out that apparently a lot of the time the AI bots were just consistently dealing damage to the bosses. And I think that the design choices that they made for the bosses did not really support that design intent that you should always be dealing damage to the boss. But there are certain things that you have to make sure that you do, like counter shots, for example, to continuously ensure that you're going to survive the next few mechanics. But I did not find them very, very difficult. I was playing on the default setting. I think the Superman one was the only one that I actually died on. And I think that was because I just got caught up on geometry more than anything. And I didn't realize that there were certain things you could do in that fight that until like the second playthrough. But overall, I think that the boss fights served their purpose, but I wouldn't call them amazing, but I didn't hate them either. I think that the Flash one is one that honestly was easy and a little boring because it was the first one. And I think that they wanted to get people past that first one, especially working up to how hard it was supposed to be in my mind, just based on other people's opinions and stuff like that. But overall, I think that the game is really good. It's not amazing, but it's definitely good. And the tools that they've put into the game are going to serve for Endgame a lot better than the actual campaign. Being able to reroll stats on gear, being able to change one particular stat on a piece of gear that is like a perfect roll, except for like one of the rolls on one of the augments just did not roll well, and you want to tweak that one. You can do that. You can change and add or remove afflictions, which are kind of like their elemental system for any of the gear that you can. At any point, you can always change that. The gear crafting and customization is set up to support the end game as well as Diablo 4, if not better. And I think that they've done a really good job of taking characters from the DC universe and applying that to this game that is then going to actually support that. So I think that the end game where you're at right now, and I think that the live service system of that is going to be a lot better and a lot more interesting when they start bringing in additional characters with different types of traversal types to maybe find people that aren't quite sold on the ones that we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will be very interesting to see like what the next year of Suicide Squad is going to be, because I think it's better set up as a live service game and an end game looter shooter than it is currently as a full story. But I still really loved the characters. I thought the characters were hilarious. I really love the cinematics and the fights in the actual campaign itself was good enough for me.
Gotcha. Well, it's good to hear, and I'm glad you didn't take as much umbrage or frustration as I did. And I hope that that is the case for a lot of people, because I want this game to succeed. So if you have played it and watched our review and heard Logan, and you have thoughts, we would love to hear them for sure. Because I know I plan to keep playing it, but I enjoy the live service. I did not enjoy the story campaign. I thought it was very frustrating. So definitely let us know your thoughts, guys.
It's a shame too, because I wanted you to like it the way that I was liking it, but I know that I'm coming from a much different perspective, and sure. I can't ask you to ignore a lot of the history that you have with this game and just like it the way I like it, unfortunately.
I think conscious choices by the developer to call back to things thus made them feel disrespectful to those. And I think that's echoed by a number of the reviews across a lot of outlets. And we'll see what happens. I do think some outlets are getting very personal in their attacks, and I think that's very strange.
Oh, that's weird.
It is a little disappointing to see. Yeah, don't do that. But I think there is something there, and I think as somebody who enjoyed Avengers and does enjoy live service games, sure, there is something there in the end game. So
yeah.
Let's go with Todd Oxter's question here. I'll do his little listener mail and get out of here. Todd Oxter writes in over on our Patreon Discord. He says, if Xbox makes a new Killer Instinct and fills it with Xbox IP characters, what non-Xbox characters would you want to show up to fight Voodoo Vince and Blinks? Just the idea of thinking of Voodoo Vince and Blinks. And Killer Instinct is such a weird mishmash. Like I don't like the idea that Killer Instinct would be the place or the type of game that we would have our Xbox pantheon of characters fighting in.
What if it was like a Smash Brothers game instead of like a Killer Instinct?
I probably would like that more. Asterisk caveat. We've seen it attempted before. Nickelodeon has one. Nobody's really playing Brawl anymore. Brawl 2, I should say. Although they should have put all 4 turtles in there. I'd have bought it. Nobody's really... Multiverses didn't do well despite having some epic characters in there.
That was a weird thing.
I do. I think Smash and Nintendo are unique unto themselves. But I would like something. I just don't know if Killer Instinct is the answer, but I would like something where we're playing with all these characters. Like the idea that Crash Bandicoot gets to kick around and fight Spyro or fight with Spyro, not in that weird, dumb game that is dead now, by the way. There was that weird, what was the one? I don't know.
One that
Kevin Ainsworth.
Muffin Mon.
Yeah, he loved it. He and 2 other people loved it. Shout out to
Crash.
Team Rumble.
I'm glad I could only think of Hackers the movie and Crash Override. So I'm glad you got there. Yeah,
what a weird attempt to do like that. I appreciate experimentation. That one didn't work. But what characters would we want to fight up Voodoo Vince? Sonic needs to be in every fighter all the time, every time. I need him there. Sonic or Knuckles. Yep. Oh, the new trailer, by the way, for Knuckles, the show. Real good.
I haven't watched it. I know you liked it. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
If you liked the movies, then this is another
Yeah.
reason to check out Paramount Plus because Knuckles does look good.
Oh, good.
What characters? I think right now, given the massive amount of IP available to Xbox, I'd rather them just showcase the best their catalog has to offer before we start to venture into effectively third party stuff, right? Like, I don't need the Prince of Persia to show up to fight uh, anybody else yet. I need to see that Xbox. I want to know what Xbox is doing with their brand
Yeah.
before I've like. Is Xbox a third party publisher all the time, every time going forward? Or are they going to be a first party? So that's what I'm curious to watch. But I want to. I love the idea of a fighter, a kart racer, or something. I want these characters to interact somewhere.
All right, Todd, I'll answer your question since Luke is bad. I'm going to say Spawn because it's been
You
20 years
selfish.
since.
That's not fair. You knew I would love Spawn.
I'm calling back to Soul Calibur 2, man. Xbox exclusive. Spawn was on Soul Calibur 2 for the Xbox. It was a great addition to Soul Calibur. It was probably one of the, next to Link, it was the best console exclusive character. And I think if they did a new Killer Instinct, I think Spawn is a great fit for that world. We just saw how great he is in Call of Duty. I think it would be fun to have him back as a fighter, but this time in Killer Instinct. And also, I'll toss this out there as well too. You mentioned Voodoo Vince and Blinks. I would like to say Captain Flameheart. Or some of the Sea Dogs from Sea of Thieves would be fantastic fighters alongside Spinal, who is in Sea of Thieves, as a figurehead, would be great additions to Killer Instinct. Let's get some more rare IP into the actual rare game and see if we can have some fun there as well too. But yeah, I'd love to see Spawn come back as a fighter in a fighter game.
Flameheart's a great call out. I would
Yeah.
love to see that. Good call out. That's a good answer. That's good. And Spawn is a great choice. That's a great choice.
I know you would like him, but I genuinely did think, like, while you were talking, I was like, oh, what about Spawn? We haven't seen Spawn in a good fighter for a long time.
I'm there for that. That's good. Let's do one or two more real quick and then get out of here, Logan. This is Wolverine4263 writes in over on Threads. What do you guys think if Xbox started licensing Xboxes the way NVIDIA and AMD do video cards? I don't understand the question. Am I dumb?
Okay, so I'll help kind of field this one. NVIDIA and AMD, they license cards out to manufacturers who will then take their card and outfit it the way you would like a car. So like if you sell a Nissan, you've got third parties that will sell you like a spoiler or a muffler system that is their custom stuff, or custom rims for that Nissan. You can buy a stock Nissan and it'll be just a stock Nissan. But if you want to buy after kit parts for it, those are from third party manufacturers. That happens on graphics cards. So like the graphics card that I just got, it is an NVIDIA graphics card, but PNY is the third party company that took the base, put their own heating system into it, put their own fans, put their overclock software on there. They customed that graphics card so that it runs a little bit better than just a stock one. So the question here is, if Xbox was to license their Xbox consoles to third-party manufacturers, who could potentially make the hardware look or work just a little bit higher than the base standard Xbox Series X, would that be something that you would pay a little bit extra for? If you could buy an Xbox that was a little overclocked, had a better cooling system, maybe that ran a little bit quieter or a little bit had more hard drive space, if they licensed it out to like a custom modder to put like a cool outer shell on it, or like a clear plastic shell or something like that. Like if they licensed that, it would be officially warranted under Xbox. You wouldn't lose out on the warranty for changing anything about the hardware itself, and you would start to kind of build up that brand identity of like, oh well, I really enjoyed the PNY or the Asus graphics card that I have. They're now going into the console space. I am very interested to see what they could do to an Xbox to make it worth spending a little bit more, like a 50 to $100 more for an Xbox Series X that I know is going to definitely outperform not only the Xbox Series X standard, but a PlayStation 5.
I glazed over real early on in what you were saying. Like
I tried so hard.
I lost like maybe 3 seconds in. I was like, nah.
I even tried to bring it to cars too, make it
I
a
was
little
gone.
more understandable.
It's like,
I think it would be very interesting to see if they did that. I would love to see console manufacturers be a little more open to third-party modding for their hardware, because I do think that the trouble that you run into, and this is something that you don't really see too much with PCs, is software on hardwares or on consoles tends to target very specific hardware specs. Games are built to accommodate exactly what the hardware is going to be, and you can drill down really close to the actual metal on consoles because exactly, like, every console is going to have that spec, so you can optimize for that very, very well. That's the benefit of playing on console, is that you get a really good experience because you don't have to accommodate a wide breadth of hardware possibilities and test for that. Nowadays, consumers are the tests. They run, consumers can get more hours in, and thanks to hopefully upcoming guest for the show, a really good comment on one of their recent videos. They said that consumers put in more hours for testing than any game tester at a studio could ever do. So it's a lot easier for companies just to throw out a game, let people play it, and then optimize based on the analytics that they get back from millions of people putting millions of hours into a game than the 12-person team that they have hired internally for critical errors and things like that. So having Xbox, having like those have like a set hardware is always going to appeal to people that manufacture games for specific hardware specs and not PC, than if you were to allow other companies to tweak those settings and potentially run into errors or problems with things not loading properly or things not working because they weren't anticipating the faster load time speeds, people running through walls in games because they didn't load in fast enough. Weird stuff like that can always happen when you start to play around with the settings on hardware, especially for like PC. It's why PC has so many issues with game crashes and whatnot. It's why Greg Miller pokes fun at PC so often, because the specs there vary so much that developers tend to have to accommodate a lot for that, compared to hardware that is set in stone. You know exactly what you're getting with it, and you can write to that experience a lot better when you're making a console game that no one is going to mess with the settings on. So hopefully that fields your question. I would like them to do that, but I don't see a world where that would be accepted by console gamers.
Once again, I glazed over.
How was your break? Did you have a good nap?
I was somewhere. I don't know. I was gone. Just gone. I was, all right. I'm gonna let him talk about his Excel spreadsheets and metal.
I don't do any of that, dude. None of that. Like,
I am the metal's closer to, and I was gone again.
Writing to the metal essentially means that you're programming a game. That you're
Logan. That's the whole point of that. Like, I'm not listening.
I'm having a good week, folks.
Oh gosh. I want to thank everybody for watching the Xbox Expansion Pass on YouTube, listening over on Spotify, iTunes.
No, they're gone now. No, they got bored by my little soapbox about PC games. You don't get to thank anyone now. There's no one left.
If you made it this far, please tell Logan, just so he has that win in his category. Hey, some people have asked us to be on YouTube Music. I thought we already were. That's on my to-do list.
Separate thing, yeah.
Okay, that's on my to-do list. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, I hear. You know what, gamers, I hear you, and I'll have an update for you soon.
Luke has to understand what his PC does more than making podcasts and doing his taxes. All right,
I don't
and that's going to take some time. He's going to fall asleep midway through it. And then when he comes back, he'll probably ask me how to do it. And I'm going to tell him I'm too busy playing Starfield at 120 frames per second with full settings. And then I'll help him later.
Everything that he has said makes sense here. So. All right, guys. We do have reviews coming to you in the future. Thank you for following XCP on all your places. Logan, where can we find you?
I'm going to be, I missed last week because of the power outage that I had that if people didn't hear about, doesn't matter. I have power now. And I'm going to be working on a review for, can I say what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to be working on a review for Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. Very interested about that. It was a very, very cool game that I think I've been keeping my eye on for a while. So I'm going to work on that this weekend. Other than that, Keelhauled. I've got a very big episode that I need to make because I've missed a week and I hate that. So I'm going to try and cover all of Season 11's patch notes, as well as their most recent video that I touched on a little bit with the upcoming changes to their PC client version. But outside of that, I will probably be playing Call of Duty or Suicide Squad. I kind of want to play Helldivers too. I'm not going to lie. It's only $40 on Steam. Mm-hmm. But they don't have AI bots. So I'd have to do stuff solo or with people that I don't know. And I don't know about that. But I'm going to be there in the Discord talking about that as well too. And thanks to everyone that showed up for when I was streaming to the Discord for Suicide Squad that wanted to check it out. It was really nice to see Chris and Ellery and Trickster pop in to come check it out and say hi.
Yeah, that was cool. You guys can find me on all your socials at InsipidGhost. And I'm just so grateful and thankful to all of you that click like, share, subscribe, wherever you support, however you support. We really appreciate you. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.